What are the most effective B2B marketing strategies in 2024? We are now in a year that's facing all of the comeback and the pushback from the startup bubble starting in about 2015 to the pandemic and the post pandemic times and the boom in e commerce. And what we essentially saw during that period of time is that tons of B2B organizations are now spending tons of money and have been spending tons of money on paid ads, on BDR teams, on kind of growing their audiences and increasing their headcount immensely, dramatically much, and not really delivering the right results that they've been expecting to hit. So the VC era of about 2018 to 2022 or so has been all about growth, all about increasing headcount. And at the same time, what actually happens in real life is profitability matters, and chasing numbers and chasing number of users and number of subscriptions does not really matter unless that's something that can become profitable. So in 2022, some investment letters coming to Meta and to Google called for profitability and for efficiency. And this kind of led most of the higher top tier B2B organizations, and especially NASDAQ companies, some of the tech leaders in the world, to reconsider their thinking, start doing layoffs, optimizing their processes, and refining their marketing channels. So 2023 had been pretty transformational, and now what we have been seeing over the first half of 2024 is that lots of organizations have either downsized dramatically or are exploring different channels and different triggers in order to be able to sustain. We face that internally as well, both for my agency Devrix and my business advisory Growth Shuttle and some of my other businesses internally. There has been a lot of transformation going on. In fact, one of our most high in demand services over the past year has been the experimentation as a service, which has been invented to help businesses uncover new offers, new niches, new markets, new ICPs, new pricing plans, and kind of package that in a way that presents a different offer and kind of get an opportunity to position themselves for the new market needs and for what the market actually expects in 2024. So we did that through this service. We uncovered other services, one-off solutions. We found out that specific HubSpot implementation services are super important. So we started pitching them as kind of standalone one-off packages. We saw that certain SEO audits and kind of competitor research works are in demand as kind of standalone packages compared to our previous retainer that we sold. In terms for development, we saw that performance audits are performing really well, and other niches and bits and pieces that we tested out through the experimentation as a service ourselves. So our old channels, the previous channels that were previously, we used to rely on four key competitive channels that really generate most of our revenue throughout 2020, 2014 to 2024. And these were inbound, which is essentially organic search and some earned media. Second thing is my personal brand, which is also organic and LinkedIn, referrals and partnerships, and people, quitting jobs like account managers, product managers, and stepping into a new position in a new company. These were kind of the four specific channels that worked out pretty well. Now, over the course of time, this usually meant SEO for the most part, LinkedIn, some YouTube in some cases, the channels that kind of flowed the funnel and kind of went top to funnel, middle funnel, bottom of the funnel for the agency and for my own consultancy. And these are kind of cross-selling one another. And again, the rest was partnerships and depending on kind of word of mouth and recommendations from people leaving and starting a new organization. Now, the problem in 2023 is that what happened is LinkedIn reach went down dramatically in favor of other channels that raised in popularity, such as Reddit's traffic grew 3 to 10 times for different verticals. Forbes went up, Quora went 3x higher, and LinkedIn's reach actually went down nearly 90% for me and about over 100 creators in my community. So this is kind of what we saw as one of the circumstances. In terms of SEO, as Google introduced the helpful content update in September 2023, the vast majority of service-based businesses and some tracking service-based transactional keywords, along with lots of publishers and lots of other businesses on the market, lost a dramatic portion of their traffic. We managed about 15 different properties. Only 3 were affected, 12 were cruising smoothly and growing, luckily, because these are kind of paid clients. But our agency was hit pretty significantly and also lost some keywords that we've been ranking for 8 years in a row in the top 3 spots in Google. So it was a pretty major transformation, and most of the previous channels didn't work. And we had to find and discover new channels for ourselves and for the larger cohort of our clients that we are serving. So these are the 8 channels that were performing pretty well in 2024. And we are expecting most of them to remain relevant throughout 2025 as well. And yet again, everything is experimentation. So don't forget to keep testing and keep experimenting. And I'm pretty sure that new channels are going to arise in the process. But before that, let's go dive into the list. Number one is communities. One of my biggest investments ever since the organic reach and the LinkedIn reach decreased was joining more B2B and marketing communities and interacting with more executives one on one. Now, why is this important? Communities are front facing. There are no spam filters. There's no DM limitations there. You are speaking one on one to specific executives, VPs, directors, and you can create bonds with themselves. Unlike other networks where you can send an email blast and it may land in spam, or there may be a paid ad, but they're actually not browsing paid ads, and they're not online, they're not scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or so you're missing out on that cohort of people. Or you are texting them a DM or a LinkedIn email and they're not seeing it because there's a lot of spam going out there nowadays. So the way we are mitigating that, in fact, is we are joining more communities, and I personally am spending more time both on the 3 communities that I manage and over 30 different communities I'm in. Most of them are in Slack or School, some are in Circle or Discord or Telegram or WhatsApp. They're kind of dispersed, but I would say 90% of my time is kind of focused on the Slack communities and the School communities, which are pretty important. So this gives me a great opportunity to jump in relevant conversations for specific topics and specific groups, and be able to help out, provide context, provide ideas, build relationships, and build bonds with people who are in my circles and potential ICPs or highly closely related to my ICPs. And this is in turn, after spending several months like this, is causing business opportunities to pop up. So we closed several mid 5-figure and a couple of 6-figure contracts through communities this year. And this is kind of one of my favorite channels. We also found some referral networks through them. And once again, that has been pretty instrumental in closing new lead flow in 2024. Number 2 is events. I'm not going to really stress on that. Events are pretty straightforward. You go and meet people, conference rooms. You try to present as a keynote speaker or a speaker regardless, because it kind of gives you the competitive edge. If you can sponsor, try to sponsor. You may be able to know the attendee list. But in any case, just going more face time together is important. There used to be a saturation point around 2018, 2019. Too many events, too many people tired of going to different events, people failing to meet their personas because, once again, there are too many overlapping events. But due to the pandemic, about 2 to 3 years of events not happening and all of the Zoom fatigue, people started to crave events even more. So that's why events are now back. Additionally, AI and deepfakes and the lack of reliability in reaching out to prospects is another reason why FaceTime is more important, because as buyers are doing due diligence for potential vendors or partners, it's much easier to have an informal conversation that's unrelated to sales and just see if you're actually vibing with the people on the other side of the table. So it's much more informal. It's still testing out the waters, understanding how they think and kind of whether there's cultural fit. So this is helping quite a lot. Number 3 is newsletters. So one of the things that I saw with LinkedIn creators who gave up on the LinkedIn algorithm, which once again was tanking about 90% of their reach, many of them moved to their beehives, or Substack was one of the kind of common solutions, or paid email courses, just to solve 2 problems. Number 1 is deliverability. It really sucks having 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 followers in your network, like connections, first level connections, and then only generating 1,500 or 2,000 views on your high level educational content. What is the point in making connections and building your own audience if they don't see your content? So unlike that, when you have a Substack or a Beehive or any of the other one-on-one newsletter networks, first, you can actually monetize that content. So some of them move to kind of a Patreon style, $5 a month, $10 a month or so, kind of support premium content, which is some form of a revenue, and it kind of adds up when you have over 10,000 subscribers. So this is kind of one of the mediums. And the second medium, of course, is they just have the consent and first party data and get over 50% open rates for their newsletter. So creators, and again, I have over 20,000 first level connections myself on LinkedIn, and again, I speak with creators with 50,000, 60, 100,000 connections. So the ones having 50,000 connections, seeing 2, 3, 4, 5,000 views on their posts, which are highly educational, unless they nail the hook and timing and so, they only feature about 10% of their first party audience. This is horrible. So they only reach up to about 10%, like 7 to 10% of their audience. While with a Substack or another newsletter, guess what? With about 50% open rate, half of their audience sees their email every single time. And most of the others also see that and they decide whether they want to open it or not, but at least they see the trigger, the push in their inbox. This is why it matters so much. Plus, it has some organic capabilities. Both platforms are actually posted and can be found on organic search as well. Number 4 is ICP research. It's one of the great tactics that we have kind of discovered. Essentially, it's a form of sales where instead of selling the proposition directly, you are testing out the new offers by speaking with potential prospects. So once again, it's not a sale in itself. You are working and testing and refining a new offer, but you reach out and say, hey, we are building a new value proposition, meaning we are not like pitching you directly. This is a new value proposition. We are still adjusting and kind of pricing it out well. We are still kind of revamping the process internally, but we want to make sure we're providing the highest possible value. So we want to kind of hop on a like 30-minute call or just send you a brief questionnaire with 10 questions or just kind of send you a pitch and get your raw text conversational response for that as well. Now, why is that important? First off, you always show up at the face of your potential prospects. Second, they have no obligation to actually speak to you, so they can ignore you but still see you. You're not pushing them for, hey, do you have time like at 3 p.m. on a Thursday to hop on a call? No, it's not pushy. It's just kind of asking for a favor or reviewing something that's kind of in a professional network or collecting feedback or so. So it's much more organic. So even though response rate may not be super high, we are actually first off refining our offers this way. And second, oftentimes we do find early bird clients for these services. And then we close them at like, hey, again, it is a new service. You're going to spend more time on that and want to refine it. Kind of what we can do is if you want to be one of the first clients for this service, we can send you a 20-25% discount, making sure that we can refine it together and make the most out of it. So once again, a great way to sell without selling, which is one of my favorite ways to bundle education and really help your customers achieve results without being a sleazy car salesman. Number 5 is brand ambassador deals. So I work with brand ambassadors myself. I'm also a brand ambassador for other companies. It's kind of part of my packages in Growth Chateau. So the way that essentially works is you close B2B influencers as partners for your own business in the form of advisors, business ambassadors, representatives at events, like PR contacts, reps for kind of podcasts or interviews. It's a combination of an advisor, a consultant, a sponsor, again, potentially a speaker at events. It can bundle different things depending on the arrangement, depending on the contract. So the reason why this is so important is it's not a formal employment. So you're not hiring a full-time person, yet you do incentivize someone in your network by paying them for their time and their service and their commitment and their involvement. And you tap into their existing professional network. So since it's not a full-time job for them, it seems less salesy, right? I mean, it's kind of a partnership, but it's similar to affiliate. You are incentivized, but it's just a fraction of your income. So you have some incentive to do that, but it's not the main thing you do. Second, these are professionals that really care about their brand. They're not like some of the affiliate or D2C salespeople who can sell anything that comes to them, like regardless of what it is, as long as it sells, they sell it. They care about their brand, so they tend to only feature and pitch solutions and offers that they believe in, which is kind of increasing the trust factor in that conversation. And if you close several brand ambassadors at the same time, you can have more coverage across podcasts, thought leaderships, Slack communities, different conversations one-on-one, and increase your organic visibility and generate the brand affinity and the positive karma for your own business. Number 6 is partnerships, similar to brand ambassador deals. However, this is pretty strategic, traditional partnership deals. What does that mean? You pair up with other SaaS providers, agencies, consultants, contractors, educational institutions, publishers, whomever you can find working closely with your ideal target audience, and you try to form strategic deals. For example, if you're a B2B SaaS provider and to partner up with a publisher, you can feature unique reports like white papers or so and kind of co-author these white papers. You have your own internal data. The publisher can bring their own audience into that, and you can kind of co-host that report as well. Or the SaaS vendor can author a column at that publisher's magazine, answering questions every Friday, for example, from the audience, thus increasing their thought leadership and also kind of increasing the likelihood that more customers are going to read that magazine at the same time. So this works in similar fashions, agencies, SaaS providers, different agencies offering different services. This could be pretty collaborative when you find the right partners. The only thing I want to stress out here, the biggest mistake with partnerships is closing a business that sits as a partner in your portfolio, but the only thing you're doing with that business ends up being listed on, hey, we just created a partnership with that business. It doesn't work this way. You have to be on the same page of what each party expects and have some expectations of commitment, such as posting every single month on social, collaborating on one white paper every quarter, maybe appearing at an event every year. If you have more of these, organizing an event of yourselves with all your partners once a year, just making sure there's commitment and some understanding and there are no false expectations between parties. Number 7 is personalized funnels. Now, most people call that account-based marketing, and I love the concept of account-based marketing, which is essentially narrowing down your ICP to the 50 ideal potential customers and organizing a campaign for all of them, which is targeting each of them individually with their pain points, their problems, their struggles, personalized by name, by company size, making sure it's as unique as personalized as possible. It's a process that generally doesn't scale compared to working with 50,000 potential companies that may be your customers. You have to be pretty unique and personalized for each of your ABM targets. But because ABM is thrown in different contexts here and there, I want to just talk about personalized funnels. This means that every single conversation, regardless of whether it's a live chat or a contact form or buyer identity data captured on your website or a LinkedIn DM or a form filled out on your LinkedIn company page, whatever it is, all of that is being triggered into a funnel that's highly personalized and it's delivering more value. What does that mean? This is being enriched by data enrichment tools, pulling additional data from Clay or pulling data scraped from Agent.io, using ChatGPT or Claude to pull additional data for the business and find a number of employees and kind of different industries and solutions so that you can have pretty straightforward and clear path to send personalized solutions and answers and pitches to these prospects. Why is that important? Again, it shows more professionalism. It's extremely possible nowadays. It's fairly easy and cheap to make it happen, including sending personalized videos that are pre-recorded and are kind of still using AI to infuse that. So again, it sounds like there's a lot of AI in that equation, but first off, yes, there is a lot of AI. Second, it's not a bad thing. It's just cutting the mundane manual work from you going ahead and browsing the LinkedIn page and seeing how many employees they have and who are the decision makers and what's the bio, and then browsing the site and their about page and board of directors and all that. Like instead of spending 30 minutes per lead to just figure this out, you can pull that now in a matter of 45 seconds, which is just more efficient, and you can make that outreach a lot faster nowadays with these tools. And number 8 is thought leadership content. And before I head to the last point, if you like this type of video, please like, subscribe, or hit the notification button. You're going to help me make more of these videos here. So thought leadership content, what does that matter? We know that content marketing is super important. We know that thought leadership is about presenting your expertise and your experience. And what we are seeing in 2024, we saw more and more and more founders, board directors, former CEOs, like other ex-founders who were in the shadows, go back in the trenches because of all the revolution happening, moving from work from home to the return to office, integrating AI, and some of the disruptive shifts in the economy. We even saw some of the original founders of Google actually going neck deep into working heavily on AI development and restructuring the companies. We see other leaders just getting back to the foundations, CEO changes. So it's very active on the CEO front nowadays. The other thing that we see here is that more and more CEOs are now publicly facing and presenting themselves online because trust is really low now as budgets are low, meaning that transactions and contracts are taking 2 to 3 times longer to close. Half of the deals are not happening at all. BDRs are really intrusive, and deploying all of these AI tools makes for lack of trust in some of these solutions. Deep fakes are pretty common. So again, we see lack of trust, which is increasing the need of businesses showcasing kind of what makes them unique, their again key selling proposition, and everything that really delivers value for that specific business. Without that, it's really hard to close a deal now. So what executives do, and that's why we're talking about thought leadership content for the founding team. What executives do is they go back to LinkedIn, they start publishing, they go back to podcasts, to other events, they just show up themselves, the entire executive teams, making sure they have public presence. Their company is real, it's legitimate, it's not fake, it's not a fabricated brand, and this is a real business with unique perceptions. The other thing is that what makes this business unique in a crowded wave of new startups popping up is the additional value provided from that business, which kind of contains the insights from the founding team. What makes them unique? How did they start a business? What were the lessons they learned? What was the reason they started in the first place? What's the core philosophy? What's the culture? And kind of just portraying that mission and vision of the business is really helping out. So we see that on the agency front, first off, part of the reach drop is partially an algorithm issue, partially actually more people bundling the platform, and partially holidays and other events just pulling traffic away from LinkedIn as well. But the combination of that also includes more and more and more founders, CEOs, and kind of C-level teams joining on LinkedIn and having executive level conversations with other partners and building relationships and joining boards and being more active in that department. So that's it. These are the 8 key B2B marketing strategies that we have found working extremely well in 2024. Once again, some of the previous channels that worked for us no longer work as efficiently, even though Google's recent reversion of the helpful content update is definitely solving a lot of problems for several of the businesses that were affected on our end. So we are pretty stoked about that, and we may actually restore SEO as one of the inbound channels. However, it's still going to be secondary at best because of the risks and the lack of kind of third-party data and relying on external algorithms to manage our content. So this is on the B2B side. If you're B2C, it's a completely different realm. This could include TikTok and influencer marketing and just meta ads and like pretty straightforward funnels and kind of upsells and downsells, abandoned cards. But in the B2B realm, these are really factors that are working very well right now and are showcasing extremely promising results for nearly 10 different businesses that we are adopting that specific go-to-market strategy here. That's it for now. Thanks for watching and see you in the next episode.